Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Be More Connected Summit. My name is Elise Preston, and I'm your host. And today, our guest is the wonderful Mar. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Elise. I'm so happy to be here with you all.
Yes. And Mar is a native of Marrakech, Morocco, living and loving in Brooklyn. She's the founder of ICU Wellness, a wellness brand and studio that exists to empower communities of color through accessible wellness and radical self-care. Mar is a sound healer, an energy practitioner, and a natural-born healer with the ability to see you for who you truly are. And Mar, I'd love to hear about your journey of healing and how that's gotten you to where you are today.
Wow, it's been where to start, where to start. But it's been quite a journey. And just to keep it short, to give you all a timeline, 3 years ago, I was a art director, creative director, working in Madison Avenue advertising industry. I've always been very intuitive, very in tune. I've always been able to read energy, but I didn't think much of it. I thought everybody could. And so after spending about 8 years in the corporate space, I started seeing the truth of the system, which I'm sure a lot of people are seeing now. But I started to see the truth of it and the injustice, and I'm going to be frank, the racism, the sexism, just all these systematic ways that keep us oppressed and keep us not in our power. So that took me on a whole journey of dark night of the soul, of a deep depression and anxiety and all these things that I had never experienced before. So after fighting as an immigrant, I thought my job was to come here, get a job and work. And I was in an industry that I loved and the industry that I wanted to be in. My mission still is and was to speak to the masses, to uplift. So I couldn't really do that through that system. So after so much back and forth and so much debate, I decided that for once in my life, I'm going to drop the ball on everyone and everything and just do me. And it was at that time, it felt revolutionary. Like, wow, I'm about to drop this 6-figure salary and all these benefits and all this career, everything, and just do me. So I had to face it felt like that. It really felt like that. And it felt so big, but also felt so good. So as soon as I did that, I literally just quit, took off, and was like, I don't care what's going to happen in the future. I don't need anything. I just want to be. I'm tired of doing. I just want to be, and I want to feel what that feels like. So I took a month off, went to a beautiful island in Puerto Rico. And during that month, it was like a complete shift. I had a spontaneous spiritual awakening, and it was just opened up all this realm. So the reason I'm saying this is because it's not that I wasn't able to tap into my gifts before. It's just that I had to face my fears and go beyond. And as soon as I did that, all my gifts started coming on. So I didn't know I was a healer. I didn't know any of those things. I just started following my intuition day to day, second by second. So my intuition told me, okay, we're going to write affirmations. So I started with affirmations. And then next thing you know, I started sharing them with people. I started to see how powerful they were. I started making products. I opened a wellness studio. It was just handed to me by the universe. It was just happening. I couldn't stop it. And that's when I knew I was on a path that's bigger than me. And I was on my own path. And even throughout that following year, I was still unsure about, like, is this really happening? Like a year ago, I was in advertising and now I'm doing this. Like, what is happening? And the funny thing is I went back to Morocco to visit my family that following year. And I was wondering if they're going to think I'm crazy or whatnot. So I started telling them I was very worried about what they were going to think. And they looked at me and they're like, yeah, we know. We knew you were, you had something going on. And by the way, your grandfather was a healer. They just didn't talk about it.
What?
And it's like, what is happening? So it was just getting confirmed and confirmed, confirmation after confirmation. But the journey for me is a journey of surrender, of constant surrender.
Yes.
Constant surrender. Because the second you surrender, that means you're no longer attached to anything, and you're no longer, especially you're no longer attached to your fears. So that's what I take with me every time. And the journey continues, right? But there's always these next levels of surrender that we have to access um, in order to access the magic, right? The magic is on the other side of surrender. So that's been my journey. There's so much more, of course, but in a nutshell, that's how I got where I am, by surrendering and surrendering some more.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that journey. And I know that that will be super expansive and affirming for our audience, particularly in this time that we're in the world right now, where it feels like there's so much transformation bubbling, and a lot of us are feeling this urge and this desire to pivot. And so I just love that piece that you shared about all of the magic being on the other side of surrender.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you could share a bit about your relationship with what's going on in the world right now, and how you are showing up for your community and for yourself during this time.
Yes. So I feel personally that I've been training for this for the last 3 years, ever since I left, because my darkest moment isn't now. It was when I was still in the system, believing the illusions. So every day that I wake up, I am thankful that at least I have the ability to see the truth and see past the illusion. So my advice to people right now, and how I show up for people right now, is just allowing myself to be the light within the darkness. Because one thing to know is that in times of deep darkness, it's also the parallel is times of deep healing as well, and deep growth. So, and you can look at this in historical events that happen in the past. Every time there's been deep darkness, there's usually beautiful things that come out of it, and sometimes not so beautiful things. But that will all depend on how us as a collective choose where to put our focus on. Do we want to focus on fear and panic, or do we want to focus on taking care of ourselves, our bodies, and each other? This is an opportunity for us to wake up. I've been seeing the mess. I've been seeing the mess. And perhaps what we're going through right now in the pandemic, there's so many different pandemics happening at the same time that are not tangible, like the virus. The virus itself isn't tangible, but there's so much going on. So I don't want to blame everything on the virus. The virus is just a manifestation of the deeper pandemics that have been happening since the beginning of time, the beginning of the US, America. I'm going to stick to local unless we have people all over the world, but in anywhere in the world, you're affected by what's going on here in the United States. So this is a great time of awakening, of reckoning, and of reevaluating, what am I here to do? What am I here to do? So we're going through a collective dark night of the soul, and it might feel dark, like I was feeling that 3 years ago, but what's coming on the other side of it is extraordinary. But we have to come back to earth, come back to reality, come back to our interconnectedness, not just as a human species, but as an earthlings with the animal kingdom, with the plant kingdom, with all that's here already. So that is imminent, and that needs to shift. And not everyone will shift that way, not everyone, but those who do will find themselves on a whole different reality, and will find themselves able to create their own reality and help others do the same. And this is what I'm here to teach. That's what I'm here to do.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And you spoke a bit about interconnectedness, and I'd love to explore what that looks like in your work as someone who is an energy healing practitioner, and uses sound healing and Reiki, and how do those different tools contribute to supporting our healing and our ability to tap into that interconnectedness?
Yes, absolutely. So for me, it's all about seeing the world from an energetic perspective. And not in this woo way. It's because it's actually everything is energy. Everything is energy. This is science. Nikola Tesla had said that if you want to discover the let me find that quote in my mind. If you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Because before anything becomes matter, becomes solid, it starts with an energy. It starts with the frequency. So if we can shift the frequency, then we can shift the matter. So this is how I approach my work. Everything has a frequency. We have a unique frequency. The plant behind you has a unique frequency. The water has a frequency. The water actually can shift frequency depending on what you do with it, but that's a whole other topic. Everything has a frequency. So if we can see the world in that way, it becomes live. It becomes living. It's no longer just a plant, an animal. It's a being. It's a spirit. So, and this is not new age. This is ancient knowledge our ancestors knew and lived by. It just has been forgotten for so long. It's been forgotten for so long that we start to think that we are the center of the universe. And that's really to our detriment as a species, as a human species. I find it interesting that this pandemic is affecting only humans and only some specific type of humans and not animals, because we're the ones doing mistreating animals, mistreating the earth. And so the interconnectedness is for us to understand that we are of it, we are part of it, all of us together. We are not separate. Just because we put walls around us does not mean we are separate. And a good visual that I like to give is that if you step out into the moon and looked at the earth, all you see is a blue ball. We're all in this blue ball. You don't see animals, you don't see individuals, you just see this tiny little blue ball floating into space, and everyone is there together. So, and that's just earth, because once you step even further, we're connected to all of the universe, and then I can go on and on. But for the sake of this conversation, all of us on earth right now, because we have consciousness, because animals have consciousness too, but we have a responsibility as leaders, because we can actually destroy or we can create. We have to become the leaders to keep everybody connected, keep everybody together, and keep the truth at the forefront. Because the second we start saying you versus me, Democrat, Republican, this versus that, we are now playing in a dangerous space that is designed to keep us separate, therefore keep us fighting, therefore someone is benefiting from this fight. Somebody's harvesting our energy in that way. So it's so key to stay connected, but the most important connection that one needs is with oneself. One mistake I see is people trying to find their significant other or their partner or their twin flame and all of that. And it's it's all here, y'all. It's all here. You start here and everything shifts around you. You don't have to go far. If every individual just takes care of to connect with themselves, to connect with their guides, to connect with their spirit, to connect with their humanity, everyone will rise together. So that's what interconnected means to me. First with yourself, and then everything else shifts around you. When you shift your frequency, everything has to shift to match your frequency, because this is just the law of the universe and how energy works. So this is the basis of my work. This is why I look at everything through energy, and everything has a spirit that I can work with. Energy shifts really quickly. So so that's the basis without going too deep into it.
And I just want to say, I was definitely getting some truth bumps as you were speaking about this relationship with energy, because it resonates so deeply with me and present in my work as well. And I just so appreciate the way that you are able to really tangibly, concisely speak about the absolute indescribable hugeness and the way that this operates and impacts all of us, because I think that this is something that we've always felt and known. But with this pandemic, a lot of folks who maybe haven't been as present or as aware of how this operates,
Right.
we are really able to tangibly see now how each of our individual interactions can affect someone in Brazil or in China. Like, this is something that's rapidly expanding and touching and having an impact on each and every one of us on the planet right now. And that's how it's always been operating on an energetic level, but now we're really having a bit of awakening to that.
Right. Now it's becoming, more materialized. So we're able to like really see it. And it gives us, because we now see it from a global perspective, we're understanding from a deeper perspective, deeper way, on a soul level, we're understanding, wow, we're so connected and we're not separate and no borders are going to save us. And if anything, this is an initiation into seeing beyond your little space, but at the same time, staying isolated in your frequency and not being enmeshed with others. And this is why we're all isolated. It's really important to stay in your frequency. It's really important to set energetic boundaries, because as you can see, even though we're not going out, we're still affected by the feelings and all that's going on. And this is a crash course in energy that we're all going through, and giving us the space to find what is it that, how can we bring ourselves back? So a lot of people are going to be experiencing this pendulum, this like mood swings, from one extreme to the other extreme. And the way I experience that is your energy is trying to calibrate to find what's really yours and what's not yours. So embrace the pendulum swing and embrace all the feelings, but know that you are none of those at all. And there is a bigger thing at work right now. And the more you release the control, because you never had it to begin with, the faster you can get to the next lesson for your own soul growth, because we're all individuals, but together, but we're all unique, but together. It's like we're all snowflakes, but snowflakes are all different, but we're all in the snow, a pile of snow. So, yeah.
And I've heard you speak a lot now about release and surrender. And I'd love for you to share about how you've been able to cultivate more of that in your life. Just because we do live in a society and within a culture that is so centered on control. And it'd be great if you could share a bit of your own personal experience or tools that people could potentially tap into to support with that process.
Absolutely. Yeah. So surrender is a practice. And I think the first thing to understand is that we have been conditioned. We have been programmed through the mind. So the mind is really the most compromised right now, because we see so many, and I used to work in advertising. So believe me, we're conditioned. The mind has been compromised, and the mind is like the ego. The ego has an agenda of its own. So the ego is trying to find answers. It's trying to control its way through life, trying to tell you what to do and what not to do, or guilt you if you don't do something. And all that stuff is just a program running. The way I like to explain it to my students and my clients is that, imagine that your mind is a computer, and right now you're operating on Windows 95. Right now in 2020, like, we need to upgrade, right? We need to upgrade to Snow Leopard or whatever is available now. So this is really what's going on. The soul is upgraded. The soul is like playing in like quantum, is AI, or like not AI, like virtual reality and whatnot, but the mind is still operating on Windows 95. So
I love this metaphor.
Yeah, it's a really good one, because I remember every time that happens, I'm like, okay, Windows 95, it's all good, it's all good. So the surrender doesn't happen in the mind.
Mm.
It happens when you drop out of the mind and get into the body.
Mm.
So it's really important that we're present in the body right now and are grounded, because most people are living in the head. Their body is just automatic. Everything is happening automatically. The body is an amazing technology that gives us so much information. So the surrender practices that have helped me is not necessarily about doing one thing every month. It's about a practice. It's about consistency. So everyone has their triggers, or like their things that brings them down the rabbit hole. So it's important to just pay attention to what that is, and have a toolbox, like a virtual toolbox with like meditations and practices, and maybe walking in the park, or like just breathing, to bring you back to the body. If you're in your body, you're not in your head. And so once we do that, here's what happens. You can go from a state of panic. Your head is panicking, right? How am I going to pay rent? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? But then you can sit and just breathe and come back to the body and just have a conversation with the body, ground yourself to earth, go listen to some birds. And in 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, your state starts shifting. And you're like, oh, I'm not as panicky anymore. That's how fast energy works. It works really, really fast, but people just forget to drop in. So this is the practice, like get out of here, come back here. Get out of here, come back here. I mean, there are many, many practices I can share. Meditation is very, very key. Connecting to your spirit guides, to a power higher than you, to the universe, God, Gaia, whatever you wanted, the fairies, you name it. It does not matter. It's all the same. Just something that is higher and bigger than you. Your higher self is really, really important, because you start to build your muscles, your energetic muscles that are now, for example, if your trigger is that as soon as something bad happens, you go into panic. If you have practiced enough to go into your body, the second the panic trigger will happen, you'll be like, breathe, and you'll come back to your body, and you're just now like, wow, everything is fine. So it's like a game. It's like a game, because it's like not real. One morning you're panicking, then at night you're completely fine, and you have to wonder why is that? Why is that? So surrendering is doing whatever you need to do to get out of the head and get into the body and drop it all. Ask yourself, what if I just release it all to the universe right now? What would happen? And just try it. Don't take my word for it. Go and test the universe yourselves. The more you surrender, the easier everything shifts around you, because everything is shifting anyway. It's our control that's blocking the shift from happening. So once we release the control, that things go back in place. Have absolute faith that everything is happening for you, not to you. Have absolute faith.
Yeah,
so you just kind of gotta get out of the way. That's it. You just gotta get out of the way and let things happen, and call upon your higher self, you're something bigger than you, to assist you, or even earth, or whatever you like to work with, to assist you. Spirituality, having a connection beyond your body, beyond your head, is really important right now, because what's going on is that many of us have been looking to governments or to leaders to lead us. That's not good. You have to lead yourself. You cannot give that power to anybody. Yes, there are governments doing their thing, but you always have to question everything and do what's right for you. You are again that snowflake, that you are a unique frequency, and you need to be responsible for you. So I'm sensing that after all of this starts to calm down, people are going to start to really lead themselves and understand how they need to take care of themselves, and they cannot no longer give their power to a leader or somebody. Everyone has to be a leader right now of themselves first. That's how we're going to rise together. No, there's no more gurus, no more this. Everybody has to lead themselves. Nobody can save you except you. And that's really empowering in my personal experience, personal belief.
Yes, incredibly empowering. And just to kind of pull one of the threads that you were speaking about earlier, just this idea that what we practice, we become really good at, and we are very practiced at fear. Yes. as a culture. And so as we begin to practice new and different ways of being, we can become better at that and strengthen our trust muscle with surrender and with tapping into our own intuition and following that and allowing that to lead our life and lead our choices versus being controlled and pulled by external influences. Exactly. And I love this piece that you're talking about in terms of really stepping into and owning our own personal power in our lives. And I've been seeing that you've been moving a lot of the ICU wellness offerings online, and that there was a recent workshop about radical self-care for radical times. Yeah. And would love to hear a little bit about how you are cultivating community online and supporting people with stepping into this new paradigm of leadership.
Yeah, so and it's funny because I have been getting visions about launching online stuff for 6 months now. And so I am very intuitive, spirit led. So if the energy is not there, I'm not doing it. I don't force anything. I have no interest in forcing anything. So that's just how I live my life. So I've been getting these visions, and I'm like, my ego, my mind is like, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do that? You're not doing what you're saying, and blah, blah, blah. So I understood that it was the mind, and I was just relaxing and like, okay, when the energy comes, I'm going to do it. So I just tell you, this is a funny story. And so 3 weeks ago, and we are in March 21st now, 3 weeks ago, before the quarantining all happens, I had a bunch of events lined up in person in my studio. Up to last week, I have never had online anything. Wow. I was asked to keep it in person only by my guidance. So that's what I did. And so 3 weeks ago, I had a plumbing issue in my studio, and my ego is like, no, we're going to keep the studio open. This was before quarantine. Nothing was going on. Wow. And so the contractors came, they fixed it, blah, blah, blah. Next day, it got worse. They came back again another 2 days. They fixed it. It kept getting worse. And then I went into panic. This was way before anything. I went into panic, and then I realized I was going down the spiral, because I do too. And then I had to come back to my body and breathe. And as soon as I surrendered, I understood, Mariam, now is the time to activate your virtual everything now. Yes. And so I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So it's time. This is what my universe is telling me. It's time to move everything digitally. So I just did it. And this is why I was able to offer digital stuff very early on, because I was working on it 2 weeks prior. I didn't know we were all going to be in quarantine 2 weeks later. Wow. So I could have resisted that and kept the studio open and perhaps exposed people to a virus. You know what I mean? Right. So this is just to show, at that moment, I was thinking, why is this happening? I have to pay my rent and all of that. But the universe is always looking out for me. And so when I got out of my spiral and came back to my body, that's when I received the message, like, now is the time to do that. So now I moved my entire operation online and was able to support people from whatever they are, which feels so good and so aligned and in divine timing. Because even though I've been getting those messages for 6 months, it was just like, get ready. It wasn't yet. So I waited until it was the time. So to talk about the radical self-care, and you mentioned to give some context around that, for me, radical self-care is to prioritize yourself above all else, anyone. It's the idea of putting your mask on first. Always. It's dropping the ball on everything. I always come back to that moment when I left my whole life, my whole career, and simply decided to just be and just reclaim my time. What radical self-care means to me. When that happens, and the execution of it can be, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's just dancing, maybe it's doing nothing, maybe it's watching Netflix, maybe it's taking a bath, There are so many ways it can manifest, but it's about listening in to yourself. What do I need right now? And give it to yourself, no matter what. No matter if your mind is like, you should be working, you should be doing this, because you have to understand, we're trying to move past this paradigm of being slaves to the system. Some people are freaking out right now, and me too, in a way, in some cases, about how am I gonna pay rent? And it's like, that's a program. People are dying, we might die, and we're thinking about rent. Like, this is not good. So we need to be radical about our self-care so that we can allow the new upgrades and the new consciousness to flow in. And we can only do that when we're relaxed and in a state of receptivity. And when you're in panic, you're not in receptivity. You're blocking everything. You're like, this is my reality, everything sucks and I'm gonna die. Okay. Or you can just surrender and allow the activations to happen and allow the body to rest. It's like, now that everybody's at home and people are not driving cars and flying, Earth is taking a breath. Literally, Earth is taking a breath. There's less carbon dioxide in the air. There's less pollution. That's the same with us. It's like, hey y'all, take a breath, take some rest, like take care of yourself, because the time to take action is coming, and you want to be fully rested for when it's time to rise, because that's coming. Don't you think we're going to be chilling for the rest of our lives? We're not. This is the time to chill, but the time to take action is coming, and only those who are well rested and have their masks on are going to be able to help others. Otherwise, if you're not, then you're one of the victims that somebody has to come and save you. And I'm getting really excited about this.
Yes, and I can so sense your energy, and I love the passion that you're bringing.
About it.
Yeah, because it is such a powerful time, and it's a powerful opportunity to lean into what's next.
Exactly.
And I think it is really tricky though, like having this conversation, because there is always so much paradox and so much duality, that there are like many things happening right now, and that they can all be true. That there is a lot of pain, there's a lot of darkness that is being surfaced right now. And like you said earlier, it's been here, but now it's just being more brought to our conscious awareness on a day-to-day basis. While simultaneously, the earth is taking a breath, and we're being invited to rest and being invited to do some self-inquiry and realigning with our energetic authenticity and figuring out who we are. So it's just when all of this comes together, and now in the world of social media, that there's so many different ways for us to be engaging in these conversations and connecting with each other. Sometimes it does create these conversations that become kind of hard to get a handle on.
Right. And you know why? Because I feel like we are getting a crash course in multidimensionality. And it's like understanding that we are multidimensional, as in like one day we can be here and the other way we can be here. And then there's an aspect of us that doesn't care. There's an aspect that is freaking out. There's an aspect that is completely peaceful. Yeah. There's so many aspects of us. And we can see that through social media as well, and how people are, the way they're talking, and even the way they shift. You know, they shift from one day they're here, the other day they're here, myself included. And this is like,
I sense that with myself as well.
Yeah, and it's really important to just notice and be curious, like, wow, I am a multidimensional being. I have access to all these aspects of myself. And so when you understand that, then consciously you can tap into whatever aspect that you need at the time that you need it. So for example, me talking to you now, I'm tapping into my speaker leader aspect, but after we hang out, I'm gonna go and just be like a bum. You know what I mean? So it's like, we're not just one thing, and we were trying to contain, like, to, especially through social media, to keep this image, this fake image, and now it's like breaking. It's like the masks are being pulled, and we're forced to be vulnerable, and we're forced to either listen or be able to shift and change. So we're getting a crash course in multidimensionality, and it's really important to be aware of all of it embrace all of it, but also don't believe all of it. Make up your own conclusions in that moment, and then you can change your mind the next moment, and that's okay, because that's how it is. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
holding on to anything stable right now is going to collapse. The only stability is within yourself. So all the structures are being brought down so that we can create that stability within ourselves. Nobody can save us. Nobody can give us the answers, because they don't even have the answers. Their answers are shifting and changing. So this is a very multidimensional thing, and I know what you mean. It's hard to kind of grab it, and it's because you cannot grab it with your head. This is a felt experience. This is why we have to be embodied. This is why we have to drop into the body, because the head cannot wrap itself around multidimensionality. It only knows linear. So, but the body, the soul knows what that is. So the more you relax into it, the more it's all making sense. You don't even need words to explain what it is. You start using energy to transmit what that is. So right now, maybe my words are not making sense, but someone somewhere listening to this is gonna feel something. And that's enough. I don't need you to understand from your head. I just need you to receive the energy that I'm trying to transmit to you right now. So that's why energy is so powerful right now, and energy work.
Yes, 100%. And I so appreciate you bringing that multidimensional aspect into this conversation, because I don't really feel like I'm hearing a whole lot about that right now.
Yeah.
And it does allow us to move from that logical linear space of the mind and drop more into a soul space where we don't have to have one specific feeling about how this is impacting us and have that be the same every single day. That
Right.
There are so many different versions of ourselves across different dimensions that are experiencing this in different ways, and all of them are okay.
Exactly.
So I so appreciate you bringing that, and also helping to kind of ground me even in this moment as I'm thinking through and processing and feeling into how this is living for all of us right now. And I would love to ask you how you're staying grounded and connected during this time. Yes.
So I have never done this much energy work in my time life. It kicked on for me about a month and a half ago, where I just started feeling like I'm sensitive, I'm energy sensitive, I'm a highly sensitive. So I am picking up on a lot of stuff all the time. However, I have very good boundaries, but in the last month, I started feeling like, whoa, like waking up at night, like unusual things. Like I had to shield myself more than usual. So my practice is, without a fail, I must meditate in the morning and set boundaries before I go to sleep. So boundary work has been key right now. And I know it sounds funny because everybody's in their home. They're like, but I'm not, I need to connect. And it's like energetic boundaries is what I'm talking about. Like somebody doesn't have to be physically with you to transfer you, to give you that, to impact your energy, right?
Yes.
So boundaries have been very, very key for me right now. The other thing I had to up is my breath work. A lot of breath work that I do in my practice. Plant allies have been very, very helpful. So this looks like herbal medicine, herbal tea, herbal smokes, herbal, like any herbs have so much medicine right now because we are in spring equinox and things are blooming. So that's been very grounding for me. One of the best practices for grounding for me is just connecting to earth and giving gratitude to all that she gives us every day, just water and food and you know, that's it. Just visualizing a cord bringing you back to earth, because again, we're all the way up here, so the more we go down, the better. What else? For me, the best practice, and then this is funny because I don't really know how this works, but I feel so good when I'm like helping someone. So this is my personal practice is when I am working with my clients, when I am doing group virtual events or in-person events before, that feels so nourishing to me. Another thing that's been really awesome for me is salt baths. I've been taking a salt bath every 2-3 days, and it's been so delicious, so luxurious. Cooking my own food, and which I have been doing. My partner cooks for me a lot, and he cooks with a lot of love, so I can feel the love as I'm eating that food. So really just being mindful, like thank the food as you eat it, thank the water as you drink it, like just the little simple things. It sounds like you have to do all these things, and like, no, you just simplify it. Just bring yourself to this moment, and give yourself space to be human and go down the rabbit hole and watch the news and all of that, but then come back, because there's another aspect of yourself that want to remind you, you're not just that, you're also this and that and unlimited. And so that's the fun of it. So that's been my practice, and it changes every day. It changes every day, but at least once or twice a day, or I am meditating, and at least like 10 times a day, I am giving thanks and giving gratitude to my guides, or having conversations with angels or whatnot. And I don't see them or anything, like, just so you know, I literally just see something beautiful. I'm like, oh, look at God, it's so beautiful. Thank you for bringing this light into my life. Just the sun coming through my window is a huge blessing. So I just give thanks for the little things, and that helps me feel connected and feel loved and taken care of by the universe.
Incredible. And the question that I love to wrap with, to just ask everyone, is what does being more connected mean to you?
For me, being more connected means connecting to my inner world, an inner sanctuary. As I connect to myself, I connect to my guides, which are then connected to everything and everyone. So if I'm connected to myself, I'm able to connect with you. I'm able to connect with any human, any plant, any animal in the world. If I'm disconnected from myself, then all I'm going to see is the disconnect within people. So that's what it means to me. Being more connected is staying on my path, staying in my truth, staying in my unique power, in my unique way of viewing things, and disregarding everything and everyone else. Just staying in my lane. And when that happens, I'm able to hold space for everything and everyone with no judgment. So that's my way of staying connected.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Mar. And thank you for all of the energy and power that you brought to this conversation. I know that I was feeling a little bit, like my energy was a little bit off, like when we first started the call. And now I'm feeling so nourished and so inspired by this conversation.
Good. Yay.
I just appreciate you and all the work that you're doing in the world. And I know that this audience is really going to benefit from this conversation.
It's my pleasure. I'm so pleased to serve you all, to support you in any way that I can. So thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, and you have beautiful, beautiful energy as well. I know that I feel just as energized talking to you as you are talking to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Mar. And I hope you have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much.
Bye.